Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 3. We're finally actually getting into the nuts and bolts of how to paint our entire face. This week, we're focusing on contouring, right? Understanding highlight and shadow. And really, ultimately, the goal for this week is looking your best, right? This is where we start, the idea of you as a performer always wanting to look your best. There isn't necessarily a character attached to this. We're just using the features that the good Lord gave you and enhancing them and making sure that you look your best on stage. Um, Hopefully the reading is pretty clear in its explanation of understanding the human form. I ask that you do follow along with those readings and that there are some exercises in them that just specifically ask you to touch your face. Obviously, in these days of social distancing and the pandemic, you want to make sure you wash your hands, wash your face thoroughly before and after you begin any of those exercises. But it's really important that you become acquainted with your face and how your face is built, right? So the idea that we all have a skull, we are all humans, we all have a framework upon which flesh sits upon, right? So the reading goes into the different layers of muscles and tissue, and of course, finally, the skin layer on the top. And really getting an understanding of these bones and how where the face sinks and where it protrudes out. Because ultimately, what you are trying to do is enhance or fool the audience with your application of makeup, right? Understanding where the low parts are, where the high parts are, how the light is hitting the face, right? So if I come over here to our example, you can see, just like your face, this face has lots of highs and lows, right? The light hits it in different places. And from your drawing exercise last week, you certainly understand that the human form it varies, right? And it varies in the way that the light hits it. So you want to really become acquainted with your face and what makes you look good, okay? And hopefully these techniques will get you, pretty far in this class. Once you have a good understanding of light and shadow, it'll take you pretty much anywhere you need to go. So when rendering, right, when we're thinking about the face and how we're going to accentuate or perhaps recede, right, certain features, we just have to start making some choices, right? So when you look in the mirror, you start thinking, well, gosh, my nose is a little crooked, my one cheek is maybe a little higher than the other, my jawline isn't as sharp as I'd like it to be. These are all things that you can correct through the use of makeup. So what I did, when you start rendering, you just really want to start with your blank personal makeup chart that you created last week. This will be obviously the shape of your face, front and side. It'll give you a great starting place. And so as I know about my face, certainly as I age, there are things that I notice every year that are changing rapidly for me. But my jawline is not as strong as it used to be. I start to see wrinkles, on my forehead and in my nose, and some dark circles or sallowness under the eye. And these are all things that I would like to correct about myself. If I were trying to create the best Technicolor version of Darren, I have a pretty good idea of what makes me look good and feel good. So I start with this chart, and you're going to want to have lots of copies on hand. I went and made, plenty of copies so that I can play around and just have them right at hand. So as I start to look at the face, I start thinking about what are the areas that I want to improve, okay? And just with a regular pencil, I create a makeup map, right? So this is the way that I can just think about what are the areas that I want to improve without having to break out color or worry about blending just yet. Thinking that I know I want to darken the side of my nose, under my eyelid, certainly want to give underneath my cheekbones a sunken in flavor, right? As well as shadowing under the jaw, right? And on the temples. And so all I've done here is I've basically created a chart that the lines mean shadow and the dots mean highlight, right? These are the areas that I want to either pop out or recede, right? So the shadow lines these dark lines are the areas that I would like to recede or seem darker than they may be in real life. These sort of circled areas with the dots are the areas that I think I would like them to pop out a little more. I want them to see the light, right? I want them to appear to hit the light. So a stronger cheek, certainly a little bit of highlight along the nasolabial fold, and of course the jawline. One of the important things that you should learn when applying makeup is that usually when you have a low light, it is immediately followed by a highlight. That highlight should generally sit right on the edge of whatever the low light is. For instance, if I have a low light here along the nasolabial fold, I'm going to want to highlight right along that sharp edge of the low light. And that's what's going to give you the illusion of a three-dimensional fold that may or may not exist on the skin, okay? So once I have this map, this is just a great rough way to sort of plan it out without having to be terribly artistic, right? Then you can move into creating a color rendering that is much more human, right? It is more of an artistic interpretation. Certainly the term rendering, we use it in costume design, we use it in scenic design, we use it in makeup design. All it means is essentially your communication tool, right? This rendering is I guess you could call it a piece of art. Of course it's art, it's artistic, but ultimately the goal is not to have a beautiful makeup rendering. The goal is to communicate what you want to happen on the actor, in this case, yourself, right? So please don't be intimidated by drawing. I've said long and often that drawing and rendering is a skill, not a talent, meaning no one is born with the natural talent to draw. It is a skill that can be refined and can be learned. So just be patient with yourself as you begin the steps of drawing and rendering in this class. Remember always, always, always that communication is the most important thing. So if someone can look at your drawing, it may not be the most stunning piece of art, but can an individual look at your drawing and know what to do with their makeup tools. So that's really the goal here. So you can see how I've taken this map, right, the idea of highlight, shadow, and I've translated it into something that looks like it might be a little more human, right, and certainly color. I use colored pencils on this. I really like Prismacolors. This is a giant set of 150 Prismacolors. You can get Prismacolors in lots of different numbers, right? I mean, so you can get a pack of 10 Prismacolors. This is a pretty large pack that I use. And I like Prismacolors for two reasons. A, they have such a variety of color, right, and availability of color. And Prismacolors blend beautifully. Generally speaking, they don't take a lot of overworking to get them to live together. This particular one, like I said, I think it's the complete set of Prismacolors. So I have just about every possible shade and color in the rainbow. One of the other great things about Prismacolor is that they have, because they have all these different shades, there's a lot of different skin tones, pinks, browns, tans, that can be used to match all different types of skin tones, as well as any type of makeup color that you want to apply. So you can certainly get by in this class with some Crayola, cheapy colored pencils. Please don't spend a bunch of money on colored pencils if you don't think you will use them in the future. But my suggestion, if you're looking for a good colored pencil, is to get yourself a nice set of Prismacolors. So I use Prismacolors to just essentially create what I think would be the best way to communicate what I'm after. And so you can see I've made some notes here. I have what my base color is. So I'm going to go back to my Ben Nye things here. I pretty much can use the creamy peach right out of the tub here. So creamy peach, that's L1. So I just put that down here so that I know exactly what base I'm intending to use, particularly if this were something that I were designing for another individual. You're going to want either the makeup artist that's going to apply it or the actor to know exactly what they're going to need. So in my notes section, I just put the base color. My highlight is CHO, that's ultralight, so that's the ultralight highlight that I'm planning on using. The shadow is the cream character shadow, so I just look on the back, CS3 character shadow, I just made a note of it right there. My lip color is, I like to use the cream contour wheel, and there is a natural lip color, LC5, and that's in this pod here. The blush, this wheel does contain a blush, but I like to use the dry rouge that comes in the kit. So that's the Ben Nye Victorian Rose. So I made a note of that. And then the dark brown EP5 eyebrow pencil. These are essentially all of the things that I'm going to use when creating this makeup on myself. So I've also taken the opportunity to just make some notes here. The highlight and shadow, a jawline, nose, upper cheek, upper lid, temple. Where does the blush go? Upper cheek, across the forehead, light chin. So really making, I guess I did use highlight shadow there. But you want to make notes that just to make this an easy thing for both yourself as a reminder and certainly actors and makeup artists. Keep it easy, don't overcomplicate it, and just ultimately make it clear. Right? So that is my example of how to do a quick and dirty rendering for makeup maps and makeup color renderings. You can use colored pencils. I have had students use markers. I've had students use watercolor, and they get super creative. I find colored pencil to be the easiest just because you can get strong lines. But be creative. Have fun and experiment a little bit when you are moving through all of your color renderings this semester. So this week I'm going to have you do a makeup map and a color rendering for your corrective makeup designs. So good luck. You can always reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm really looking forward to seeing what y'all come up with. Have a great week.